Good afternoon. My name's Joe Hop. It is March 7th of 2018, and I'm a 56-year-old man who wants to be who's been compelled to become one of the YouTube people. Um, I've been posting on my Facebook for some time, and I just felt like I have to join a broader community of people who have national and world optics similar to mine. Um, Anger hasn't motivated me. Fear and worry have motivated me. Um, I am legitimately and sincerely uh, fearful for my fellow Americans, and I have plenty of reasons to say that. Um, I am certainly not a conspiracy theorist. Uh, I'm a realist. No rose-colored glasses. Uh, you won't find that here, um, and you won't find the demonization or caricaturing of anyone. But I do observe. Observation is something I've been doing for a very, very long time. Um, and I just feel like I have to speak. Uh, some of the topics I want to talk about just off the top of my head, and this is the first time I've ever been on here. I'm very nervous, and this is not something that I do easily. I'm not an actor. I'm not a person who's ever given a speech, uh, except for once in college. And I was so nervous about giving this speech that my speech was on juggling, so I wouldn't have to focus on the people in the room. Actually, I don't remember if it's been a long time. I don't remember if the speech was actually on juggling, but I decided to juggle 3 tennis balls during the speech. Frankly, I don't remember. And learning juggling, yeah, it doesn't take very long. It takes a while to get good at it, which I am not. But if you want to be able to juggle 3 balls for 60 seconds, it takes you a couple of days to figure it out. If you have any coordination at all. So some of the topics I want to go over. Um, I want to talk about the family on this. Some of the as one of my topics. I like to talk about trends. I like to see how change and progressivism. I'll just call change and progressivism the same thing. Um, I like to see how change affects cause and effect situations, such as, if I remember a movie about evolution. There was some made-for-TV movie about evolution. A teacher in school, and this is again off the top of my head, but I remember when during that the one line from the movie was how the guy said the invention of flight, of airplane flight, took the wonder out of the bird, and that stuck with me. And I mean, it's something I've thought of for a long time. Another old phrase I'll bring up, and is part of my thinking, is the road to hell is paved by good intentions. And I believe that's true. And I don't really even believe all that much in hell. I believe in truth. I believe in family. I believe in love. I believe in reality. Back to the topics. I digress. Family is a topic of mine. Freedom. Government. Big business. Particularly tech. Big tech. But certainly many other industries. But big tech is in my face all the time. You know, I just set up this web camera, which I don't think I've ever had one before. And the first thing it asked me was, oh, something just popped up on my screen. The first thing that either the camera or the software asked me was, it wanted my location. I'm sorry, I don't want it to have my location. We'll get into that someday. We'll get into certainly smartphones. I'd like to talk about that. I'd like to talk about Europe, South Africa, China, Russia, feminism, homosexuality, freedom, free speech, the Second Amendment, history. History is huge with me because I believe the mantra on those who don't follow history are doomed to repeat it. I would consider myself, I'll tell you what, I'll let you decide where my political leanings fall. I'm not a Democrat. And I believe that the Republican Party has given conservatives a bad name. I believe that I despise what's that word? Group politics, or what's that word, Mary? Well, groupthink is a problem, and when they divide people amongst blocks like Caucasian, African American, Latin American, Latin descent, whatever the case may be. I certainly want to talk about globalism, and some of these words that have almost been marked as good or evil by the media and government. Like, let me just talk about good words and bad words. A good word right now amongst the media, particularly on the left, and the right, corporate America won't touch it. There's two Republicans. There's the freedom-loving, leave me alone Republicans. There's not a racist among them. And then there's the corporate Republicans, but there's the corporate Democrats too. But at any rate, I'm worried. I see a lot of hatred, name calling. name calling is not a good way to go. It's demonizing large groups of people. And when Hillary Clinton came out and talked about the deplorables, they focused on deplorable because, quite frankly, those opposed to those names didn't want to bring up the irredeemable word. But deplorable means your beliefs and their beliefs are incompatible. You don't like them. Like, you're deplorable. That's sort of like saying you're disgusting. Or it's a negative connotation for a group of people. But irredeemable is without value, without the ability to become worthful, have worth, to be unable to change to become something irredeemable. If someone is irredeemable, or if something is irredeemable, we throw it out. It's beyond our ability to repair. It has the connotation of worthlessness, uselessness. If it's a material item, it has the connotation of worthlessness and uselessness. If it's a person, there's all kinds of offshoots and places that bad people could take the word irredeemable. When Hillary Clinton called 80 million people in this country deplorable and irredeemable, I believe that's what lost her the election. I truly do. You can't call people worthless, beyond hope, beyond redemption, essentially without value. And one could say disposable, because irredeemable items are disposable. I don't like words like that being thrown out. I'm off on irredeemable right now, but it's something that I never hear the press talking about. I hear them talking about deplorable. I can call someone you're deplorable. That doesn't go to the same place as irredeemable does, So that's something. So Russia and Hillary, Russia, Trump, my God, the time we've wasted as a country on demonizing. Anyway, I'll start by talking about some of the experiences I've had with my observations of high-tech corporate America. I'm sorry, I went into Radio Shack one time. And, I can't use by the way, I don't know if you're on the same page as me, but I can't use my cell phone without surrendering to my freedom. And like my answering machines used to be like, okay, leave a message. I pick up my phone, cell phone or regular phone, and I listen to the person who called me. But now to use my messaging on my cell phone, I have to give them access to my photos, my phone numbers, my SIM card, my hard drive, my everything in my computer. Everything in my computer. And you know what? Why? I could see having to give a semblance of control of some items in your computer for certain apps. Like, obviously, a video app, you would need to give maybe some access to video software in my computer. This is a complaint. But I saw all these things coming. I saw them coming. You know, the tech world has taken privileges. You know, how many times have I signed up for something only to find out that I've signed up for something else and they bill me for whatever? And like, my wife just signed up for a race, a running race, and the website that that you go to sign up, you have to create everybody wants you to create a profile, and then she went through the process of signing up for this particular running race, and she paid the entry fee, and a month later, a couple days ago, she got an $80 bill from that website. And she said, "Why?" and I said, "I don't know." And she said, "I'll have to call them." And we know how hard it is to call anybody. My call is not very important to them, even though they say it's so condescending. Your call is important to us. Well, if my call was important to you, then why would I wait 20 minutes? You know how you get through to a company? Call the sales line. The only line at a for-profit or maybe for non-profit company is the line that picks up to sign you up and take your money. Long story short, she called up and she found out that somewhere along the line she neglected to unclick something. See, it used to be they just slowly take their privileges. It used to be that you had to click on something to sign up to be a advanced member or a preferred member. And but now you actually have to unclick something. You have to take an action not to become a preferred member, and they sign you up for a 30-day free thing, which is what they did. And 30 days later, there's $80 out of my checking account. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not okay with that. What would you do if a guy grabbed $80 out of your pocket? Or came into your house and take $80, you know? It wouldn't be okay with me. I'm on a rant here. I'm on a ramble. But there's so many disturbing things going on, you know? I'm going to talk about immigration. I want to talk about police. I want to talk about pets, children. I want to talk about some education, the education system, Antifa, I'm sorry. Black Lives Matter, the Ku Klux Klan, white supremacists, Nazis, characteristics of a Nazi, characteristics of a supremacist of any kind. I don't like that word. I want to talk about history of this country. I want to talk about what happened with the Indians. I want to talk about the Walk of Tears and the Civil War and the Jim Crow laws and Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger and I want to talk about the free speech. We got so many problems. So I'm not going to get into anything very specific, although I did touch a little bit on a couple of things that irk me. The human condition, God, spirituality, atheism, agnostics, the prison system, rehabilitation, federal law, environmental issues, population, I'll talk about global warming, corruption, unchecked power, elitism, Hollywood, the National Rifle Association, love, I think I mentioned that before, sexuality, dogma, tradition, so before I end this little segment of mine, I'd like to say that I'm going to just go through a few words that have positive and very negative connotations. I don't understand why. Multiculturalism is the good guy word right now, is a good guy word. Populism, it certainly should be if you believe in democracy, with the wisdom of the people. Nationalism has become a very bad word. We're going to talk about why that is. Why has nationalism become a bad word? We're going to talk an awful lot about why things are happening like they are. And we're not going to say like, what is so good about multiculturalism? Everybody seems to think it's fantastic, except the cultures. Culture is wonderful, Economic issues are huge. Trade-offs. As a society, we're going to have to make trade-offs pretty soon if we want to be free. Because you can't have your cake and eat it too. Which means we're going to talk about humility, community, socialism, communism, fascism, Marxism, greed, national defense, the wall. We're going to talk about, I'm going to stay on the topic of multiculturalism right now, because multiculturalism is being sold as goodness, and not because they're saying what is that word they use now? God, they use so many new words. If you're not a multiculturalist in this country, you're a racist. If you're of some ethnicities. If you're of other ethnicities, and you're a cultural conservative, let's call it cultural conservatism, you're not a racist. I don't think anybody who's a cultural conservative is necessarily a racist. It's just, then when they, and this whole thing is, well, you don't know that you're a racist or a bigot or a homophobe. And I'll talk about some of the people that I admire, revere, that are on the internet and in the public sphere. A Canadian psychologist is someone I look up to. I don't know if he's certainly not a religious man. A lesbian woman that teaches the arts and writes a column and does quite a bit of stuff on the internet and YouTube. A homosexual man who's active in the conservative community. Probably some of you can guess who that might be. Some brave women that are standing up to political correctness. Political correctness is scary stuff. Hate speech? Come on. That's a slippery slope. Another person I admire very much is a Jewish lady who's an activist. On my Facebook and in my YouTube, there's so many guys that I admire. One of them's been censored out of business. He was a little rough on his own people, I admit that, but he had a way about him. I probably listen to more African American, black, non-Caucasian bloggers than I do Caucasian bloggers, because it's refreshing to me to see that it's not what your color is. Kennedy said the content of your character. It's so important. We need to turn this ship around and get real. I don't know what it's going to take, but it's not looking good. And I am a bit of a pessimist. But there was a time when I'm sort of like, I look at myself as a bit of a canary in the coal mine. What I see in the world actually sickens my heart and my soul, and creates emotional pain in my life. And I don't quite know how to deal with it. I had two options. I could stick my proverbial head in the sand, which has never been my style. It's just not my style. Or I could speak my mind. And I've decided to speak my mind. Um, I'm going to get into specifics, and I'm going to start. This is a very preliminary introduction to my site. Um, I love you all. I don't like you all, but I love you all. And that's okay. You know, I disagree with half the country, probably more than half the country. No, I disagree with a lot of people. I fear for the family. The African American family has been decimated in the last 50 years. Why? Ask yourself that. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but ask yourself that. The Caucasian family is on its way down. And it hurts me. It hurts me to see what happened to the black family in this country. And it's hurting me to see what's happening to the white family, to the Caucasian family. I see the Latin American family, and I'm a Florida resident. I see so many Latin American families on beaches, and they kind of look like the families that I knew 30 and 40 years ago, you know? But progressivism is going to decimate the family of the Latino community and culture. I hate to say it. I see it coming. The Asian family. Bad news. On the flip side, I have to be positive. And the way that I become positive is to speak my mind. I'm very low tech. I'm going to find out how to superimpose myself on videos like some of my YouTube and other venue bloggers have the ability to do, because I'd like to analyze and give my perception of what I see. And I'll close with this. If you have those that would demonize the messenger, which happens all too much today, I believe they're afraid of the message. And that's not the way we want to go. That's not the direction we want to go. So with that, I don't know if I said anything today, but it's a start. This is my warm-up. I want to thank my friends on Facebook who give me thumbs up, and I want to thank some other friends of mine that are in communities that if they gave me a thumbs up, they'd be chastised in their communities. That's not cool. It's not cool. I want to talk about those that would boycott. I want to talk about corporations that involve themselves in political activism and the reason why they involve themselves in political activism. One reason, and I'll tell you right now while we're going, is that Democrats are great at boycotting because they generally have a disdain for corporate America. Although they're beholden to corporate America. While Republicans, we sort of have this resistance. I say we, but I'm really not. I voted for Trump. But some of those guys are giving me a bad name. So conservatives have a resistance to boycotting corporate America because it's a bit anti-free market, which free market, yes, no, we'll talk about that. But the problem is that if corporations go the path of least resistance and side with the boycotters, that's uncool. So there has to be an equal playing field. So I'm afraid that conservatives and libertarians and social conservatives and First and Second and all amendment, the rule of law conservative, equal justice conservatives, which we're going to talk an awful lot about, the trends I've been seeing that equal justice is becoming a fad and a path of least resistance. So much to talk about. I'm not an extremely religious man, although I have my beliefs. I would consider myself a Christian, but I'm not really a team player, unless I have to be. I might edit, I might never publish this video. I'm going to let my wife decide, because I've been rambling. But we have so many problems, and our direction is so bad. And half the country thinks we're heading in the right direction. And there are so many forces against freedom, against self-determination. It's a lot easier to destroy things than it is to build them up. And it's one of the reasons I think we're losing is because it's just too damn easy to take something down and blame others for doing it. We're going to talk about blame a lot. And we're going to talk about how certain political factions like to misdirect with blaming others for exactly the things they want to happen when they don't turn out so well. And that's ugliness too. So with that, I am going to sign off. First time, we'll see how it goes. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.